Good. So welcome back. Now let's explore, the different types of compensation. Compensation plan, compensation systems. We will look at it. Now, but the first thing I need to clear here is that there are different types of compensation. We have the direct and the indirect compensation plan, or the direct compensation system and the indirect compensation system. Okay. Now, the direct compensation system or plan is a form of financial compensation, either cash, especially cash, given to an employee from an employer for services rendered. Okay. Monetary financial reward, cash, maybe through paychecks, bank transfers, or cash direct, form of cash and payment given by an employer to an employee for their services rendered. And we can talk about, and such examples include base pay, overtime pay, and some other form of payment. Okay. For base pay, for example, it is also known as basic salary. So here in Nigeria, when you are looking at the payroll, you are looking at basic salaries, you are looking at basic transport and rental, that's housing. Basic transport and housing are key features of the payroll that is used in calculating our payee, our pay as you earn, our taxes. All right. So basic salary, let me use basic salary, as not many people know this basic salary as base pay. So when you hear base pay, is the same thing as basic salary. Now this is a fixed financial amount, okay, that an employer or an organization pays her employees in exchange for the services they have performed. This is rarely flexible, so to speak. This amount or this particular sum is fixed, has been predetermined, and is attached to the service in exchange that the employee gives in exchange, for this. Now, this amount is negotiated during the hiring process. HR practitioners, please bear this in mind. Okay, before the employee, anyway, if you had done your HR planning properly and you have, identified your gaps, you have, attached a certain sum to the particular role that is to be filled, when you get to this part of the HR function, you will not find it difficult. All right, so please bear this in mind. This amount is, negotiated or is designed, structured right even ahead of the hiring process, not even the hiring process, from the HR planning stage. All right, where we agree upon the total sum that is going to be attached to that particular employment contract, to that particular position. Okay. This sum is usually, ideally calculated on an annual basis and can be spread to become monthly salaries or weekly salaries. Okay. But please bear in mind that HR, you cannot calculate salaries or cost the company on monthly basis and leave it at that. When we are designing the annual budget, when we are planning from the beginning of a fiscal year or whatever period your business or the company you are working with is, what is it called, designing the budget for the coming year, you also should have designed or contributed or joined the team in designing an annual budget, okay, which will cover salaries, compensation benefits, and all other extras that might be required in ensuring that the employees are taken care of for that period, okay? So this is what basic salary means. It means a fixed amount, a fixed financial amount, a fixed financial sum that an organization or an employer gives or pays their employees for services that has been rendered. Okay. Now, when you're talking about overtime payment as a form of direct compensation, overtime payment is an amount, it comes from the word overtime. Okay, when we exceed our regular stated agreed hours that we need to work in a company, all right, for that period, for a day or for a week, for a month. Okay, so that is what we call overtime. An amount of of an extra pay that is given to employees who work extra hours in addition to what their scheduled contract hours. So for example, if I sign a contract with a company and says I'm going to do 40 hours, 30 hours within this time frame, in the business, in a week, the moment I start working 40 hours and some, 41 hours, 45 hours, what that means is that I have exceeded I've gone exceeded my contract in terms of the number of hours or work days scheduled, for the period. So if in the first week of June, I'm supposed to work Mondays to Fridays, of July, Mondays to Fridays, and at the end of the day, there's something that comes up that requires that I come into the office or do extra hours during the weekends, then that sum that is given to me, that financial reward that is paid to me for those extra hours, is called overtime pay. So every company is expected, encouraged to establish a form of budget, to cover everything over time. It doesn't happen in a lot of businesses, but every business is encouraged to do what, to try as much as possible. If you're not able to work within the agreed hours, you should find a form of direct compensation to cover for the extra hours that your staffs, your employees commit to building the company. So every company should establish a set of working hours, normal working hours, routine hours, in order to clarify anything called overtime. All right, I've already shared with us key examples. Now, all employees, are supposed to be rewarded in accordance with fair practice. Okay, you won't say I pay you 40 hours, I pay you the value of 40 hours for a 60-hour work period during the week, and then you expect that employer or that worker to be, what's the word, to be motivated, to be inspired. So bear this in mind. Now they will have other form of direct compensations, you know, as variable compensation. This form of payment is given to the employee based on performance. All right, based on performance. Now there are times when whatever agreement that has been agreed upon, employers, now this is usually comes especially with, let's for example, the sales team. Some organizations use this variable compensation as extra, not necessarily, okay. Easy example are bonuses and commission. Yes, bonuses and commission, in their additions to what, a stable income, a stable pay, a fixed pay. Okay, the basic salary. Some organizations run that model, some organizations do not. They just place the sales and marketing team or some other teams upon bonuses and compensation. But it's usually encouraged that where the funds are available, a certain basic or base pay should be considered. Okay, so variable compensations are compensations given to the employees based on performance. All right, and the aim here is to encourage a form of specific behavior or results. All right, just as the example that I have shared. So this form of payment is typically implemented, as I said again, with the sales team as well as the marketing team in the form of bonuses or commission. All right. So if an individual, for example, an individual employee exceeds and achieve, certain professional timeline, exceeds their KPI, exceeds their target, or an entire team as a unit meets their goals, hits their objectives, specific targets, the thing is that these teams are rewarded, are given that extra reward to, encourage them, to motivate them to do more. Now, this form of reward and statement can be, must be determined way before or way ahead of their entry. Now, where this is not cannot be determined at entry, at the planning stage, be open-minded. HR practitioner, please bear this in mind. You must be open-minded. Your structures must be open-ended in that area, where okay, currently our budget might not be able to accommodate some variable form of compensation, but at the end of a certain period, it can be projected to accommodate this, and this. So let that open clause be there. This also will help the employee prepare their minds that they indeed can do what? Can do better. Now, this form of performance goals, for example, for sales team, can be predetermined, just as I mentioned, but can be outlined and discussed with the candidate upon entry, okay, or even before entry as part of the offer package. Let this be stated. Some candidates or applicants actually during interviews will ask you what benefits or compensation programs are available. Are there sales bonuses? Are there bonuses for exceeding target, so that are there sales bonuses, sales compensations, and commission on sales? They'll tell you. Some organizations, some candidates will ask you outrightly, but where candidates do not ask you, it is important that if you are hiring quality talent, prior to hiring them, not upon entry. I know I mentioned upon entry, but please, I take that back. Prior to taking the offer, let them put everything in black and white. Let them know exactly what they are signing into. Another form of direct compensation is a sales compensation, okay, which is a form of, is a strategy that is usually used to motivate sales team in order to achieve their goal. So this comprises of, the basic salary, that's the base pay, and then it's topped up by commission. Some organizations, some company do a blend of both commission and other bonuses might not be included, but there's a certain form of commission as well as certain form of base pay. Okay, so we will give you this fixed amount, all right, maybe like 200K, $50, $100, regardless of $3,000, regardless of what the amount will be, $6,000. You choose your amount. Then we'll tell you this is our base pay, this is what we will give you, and then we will add this XYZ amount as commission for, either exceeding your sale target or achieving a certain milestone. So it typically comprises of a base salary topped up with what? Commission. Some organizations will offer other bonuses, okay, and other performance-based incentives so as to that are tailor-made to that organization. Please bear in mind as HR practitioner, what obtains in company A might not obtain in company D. All right. So you can't say, oh, in my former place of work, this is how we used to do it. The question is that in your former place of work, they might have had the budget or not have the budget. Okay. And in your current place of work, um, if you are changing jobs, their system might be different. So please bear in mind, every organization has a tailor-made program or tailor-made role, or specific structure that they take. So in the form of direct compensation, the base salary, as I mentioned, is often minimal, okay? While the commission, depending on the model they have chosen, while the commission and the bonuses are quite lucrative, okay? There used to be a time, Lighthouse, even up till now, we have some models like that for our sales and marketing team, where if we're deciding to take up maybe independent marketers or independent sales team, what we do is that we give them a base pay, minimal, to take care of the basics as well. But when it comes to compensations, commissions, bonuses, we make it lucrative because it is, target based. It's a target based pay, performance based pay. Now, this form of incentives for employees are usually used as baits, okay, to encourage peak performance, encourage the employee to contribute successfully to achieving their target without any form of bias or encouraging laid back attitude, because for sales team is about the numbers. Efforts are efforts are encouraged, but results are rewarded. That's the word, okay? So for sales and marketing team, probably you plan to toe the sales line. Please bear this in mind. Now, while you are considering direct compensations like incentive pay, just as I mentioned, based on performance, you can look at commissions, you can look at bonuses, you can look at other, piece rates. Some organizations offer, bonuses like profit sharing, stock options, and then shift differentials, just to help encourage the entire team to do more. There are some times when you can also consider deferred pay. Oh, I don't want my payment now. I want to, put my payment into a savings plan or into buying stocks or shares. It depends on what that organization is willing to accommodate as well as the needs of the employee. Now, there are certain employees who are investment focused. I wanted to use the word investment crazy, but investment focus is the right one, where rather than keep my cash that will not generate anything for me, what I do is that I want to engage the model for deferred payment. So everything you are owing me or everything you want to give to me as incentives, as bonuses, as cash, send it, put it together and give me buy shares. I will buy shares in this organization, or I be a part of the shareholding in your company. All right. So please bear this also in mind. Now, let's talk about indirect form of compensations. Okay. Now, these indirect forms of compensations are monetary as well as non-monetary incentives. They are not the same as benefits. Okay. So indirect compensation could be monetary as well as non-monetary incentives that are given to employees in order to increase their overall engagement and motivation as well as satisfaction at work. All right. Now, this type of compensation, although still has a financial value, but employees do not receive them in the form of cash or bank transfers. You don't receive them in your bank accounts, give or take. All right. So that's a form of indirect way of compensating employees. Now, this form of payments are very common. All right. And there is an overlap between the direct compensation as regards benefits. Please, just as I mentioned, indirect compensation is not the same as benefit. However, there could be similarities, but they are way different. We'll be looking at it when we are discussing benefits. Okay. Now, examples of such indirect compensation are stock options or equity. All right. Now, the employee is offered, for example, an employee is offered equity in a company or shares of stocks in a company, or an option for you to buy shares. So for example, if I say, oh, as an employee in Lighthouse HR company, I will want to give you a certain amount, and oh, the person says, oh no, I don't want that amount sent to me. I already have my base salary. I want this. I would like to buy additional shares at Lighthouse HR company and become a shareholder. All right. So this is an example of equity where a certain amount of share is given to the employee in exchange for work done, meeting their KPIs, as against giving monetary compensation. Okay. Now, this form of compensation is usually popular among startups or scaling businesses where the business is operating as a lean budget, they're low in cash, and then they decide that this model is quite useful. You come on board with us, work with us in building this, and then we will give you a form of shareholding, a form of shares of stock in exchange for your wages or salaries or whatever payment that needs to be done. People who have foresight and believe strongly in that organization might consider that. So when that company succeeds, the employee also does what succeed. So this form of incentives helps businesses to also achieve their goals. Okay, so please let's bear this in mind. Very important information there. Great. So now let's do benefits. We've already defined benefits, and so we just keep the definitions. Now, benefits are given in order to help the employees achieve their midterm as well as their long-term goals. Okay. It's a form of protection. So where the employees know that they need to be protected. Okay, so it's important that HR practitioners should bear this in mind. Every organization, no matter how small, is encouraged to do what? To have a benefit structure to help protect their employees on the midterm and the long term. So employees who often work with organizations offer, companies are to offer a wide range of benefit programs for their employees in order to protect their employee future. Anything that you has to do with protecting the employee future will include protecting their health, protecting their protecting themselves ahead of what? Retirement. So you're looking at life insurance, health insurance, and pensions, and every other insurance that needs to, be considered, as long as it's within the confines of the budget and the company is able to, all right, to achieve this. But no matter what, at least employers are encouraged to have a minimum of the pension. Okay, consider pensions for your consider the pensions plan, the NHIS plan for your employees. All right, that also is very crucial in protecting your employees' midterm and long-term goal, either within your organization or upon exit. But let them have that that benefit to the list. So health insurance for Nigeria, we have the NHIS program, we have the HMO program. So you can reach out to these platforms and encourage your employers, HR practitioners, to engage with these people. So when it comes to health, the health is crucial. A living healthy person is the person that can work. So HR practitioner is important that you bear this, all right, in mind. So non-monetary incentives are what? Benefits. Non-monetary perks, experiential rewards, time off work, maternity leaves, project in terms of project, maybe after executing a project that has been tedious or a long-term project, you give, certain incentives, certain non-monetary incentives like a leave, like a break time, to your employees to be able to take out time to rest, look within themselves, work life balance and all that, and then they come back, they have a rebound and then come back to work. Okay. So you have examples also like additional time off, flexible working hours, extra opportunities for development. Some organizations take it as a responsibility to send their staffs up for training, even outside their regions, so that you can experience other people's culture, other nations. If you can afford it, send people on vacation, consider wellness programs for them, feeding allowances, restaurant vouchers, sometimes snacks and meals even in the office, branded merchandise, gift items, souvenirs, to these staff so that they also can be motivated, as the case may be. Now, new generation of workers, they care a lot about these benefits. So you won't say HR practitioners, hear me, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas that were, that holds the future. We must understand that these extra benefits, having a social, engaging work, wholesome work environment, non-toxic environment is key for their well-being, is key for them. The old generations might say that, oh, having to take care of the family, financial independence, financial, gain was key for them, which is good. However, we cannot use the ideals of the older generation to judge the ideals of the new generation. So my encouragement and advice is that we must be able to, just as I've mentioned already, different generation, her unique experiences, her unique pattern and desires, her unique form of rewarding and compensating them. All right. So the new generation of workers are more about benefits, are more about a wholesome social working, engaging work environment. They are more about their compensation packages even than ever before. So companies should listen. Employers, you're here, CEO founders, please have this in mind. Do not say, oh, if they are not going to be there. Every business, for example, Lighthouse HR company, just as I've heard so many times, my future business partners, my future consumers, clientele at the current generation and the next generation coming. All right. So what do I do? And then our future work employees, our future staffs at the current generation and the coming generation. And the point is that we have to have an understanding of what they are about, what they want, okay, in relations and in alignment with our vision, our goals, without breaking our cultural and our principles within the business. So it's a win-win for everybody. So HR bear this also in mind.